What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilk, and, well, I apologize, because apparently I never covered episode 14 last week of Dragon Ball Daima, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the new one coming up here in just a little bit today, so make sure you guys stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't already. Let's go ahead and jump in, because this episode was really interesting. So, it basically kicks off where the whole crew, like, now everybody's together, Goku, Vegeta, Bulma, everybody's there in one ship, and, with everyone that we've met basically since entering the Demon Realm. And they now have come to the realization that they need to get to the first Demon World. There's no other way around this. They have 2 of the 3 Dragon Balls, and they need to get the 3rd one in order to kind of complete this part of the quest. So, as we are approaching the Warp Gate, they're only finding out now that what we found out 2 episodes ago is that the warp gates have been shut down. Basically, that warp fish no longer works. It's literally just a giant switch that Dengetsu pulled that shut the whole thing down, right? And, everyone's just kind of like, okay, what do we do now, right? Like, how are we going to get from the other demon worlds? And this is where we get a little bit more lore, because immediately, as they approach this, they realize that, like, there's these big holes. Chris, you gotta remember, like, most of the people in the Demon Realm, they know all this stuff. All this is just basic knowledge to them. But to, like, Goku and crew, and to us, really, as we're just learning all this. Everybody's learning this basically new, aside from, obviously, like, Pansy, Neva, and those guys. And so they realize that there's these big holes, kind of one in the sky and one in the ground. And Goku realizes, he's like, this is like a light, like a shield or something, and he extends the he extends the pole down there. And I love Pansy's like, you idiot, you gonna get yourself unalived. And of course, as he hits it with the pole, like, extends it thousands of feet down, it unleashes this electric charge that fries Goku, and it's hilarious. It's absolutely just unbelievably funny. But meanwhile, over in the Demon Realm, now we'll get to what happened there in a minute, but over in the Demon Realm, we actually have, I forget what they translated as, but basically, they call it the Kenpai Tai, which, if you know anything about history, okay. But then we get to meet the, basically their version of the Ginyu Force. And yes, it is completely an allegory for every Sentai group out there. And they literally call themselves the Kenpai Sentai, which is, if you know anything about, like, all those things, like, it's hilarious. But yeah, basically for most people, it's just an allusion to the Ginyu Force. It very much is. The whole Sentai thing is, like, the Ginyu Force is literally like the modern, at the time, Sentai groups just turned up to 11, and that's, what we in the United States got as Power Rangers. Anyway, long story there, but basically understand that they're, yes, they are supposed to be the Ginyu Force, but they're also called the Kenpai Sentai, which is just its own weird thing. We could do a whole video just on what that means and what that is. It's very interesting. In fact, I've been shocked from the start that they've been able to call themselves the Kenpai Tai, but, it is what it is. I think everybody's pretty much under the impression that these are not the good guys. But Goma is just not having it. Like, and they just start firing off all this, just, like, they've got guns, they've got lasers, they've got, like, a lightning rod, a giant Tesla coil, and they're just blowing up the palace. And Goma's just like, cool, good job, guys. Now clean it up. Which was just absolutely kind of hilarious. But amidst all this, we get back to our crew, which now Neva is basically come out, and he's the old Namekian dude. He's come out and he said, okay, cool, we're going to release this. Like, this is done. It's over with. And then just kind of does this incantation and removes, in a really epic scene. Like, it's hard to just tell you, like, how amazing this looked if you didn't watch the episode. But because I know some people are waiting till the episodes get the English dub. But there's this really epic scene where he literally just does an incantation. You find out, like, this basically is the dude that dropped all that. And he drops some lore on us. He's like, yeah, people from the different demon realms would come over and just invade other demon realms. And so this was basically to stop all that. And after a while, obviously they had the warp fish, but that only approved so much travel and things like that. So essentially, he's like, cool, well, we can go now. What's really interesting is as soon as he removes that kind of that barrier, and our crew starts moving through that, you start to notice that Dengetsu notices, and then Dr. Arinisu notices. So it seems like anyone that is a Glint or is associated with the Glint seems to be somehow in tune with the demon realm in some kind of supernatural fashion, for lack of a better way to put it. And they begin to notice that all this stuff is happening. Meanwhile, our crew is flying through, and they start having more issues with their spacecraft. And they have to basically, they have to bail out, and then they kind of get to land eventually, and then the Kenpei Tai's there, and they're just like, all right, cool. Well, run. Is essentially where the episode leaves off. I mean, a lot happened, but not a lot happened at the same time. Like, it's really hard to explain because a lot of it was just either gag after gag or visual after visual. Overall, if I was going to rate the episode, I would absolutely rate it highly. It's just very, very, very hard to put into words. It's a very visual episode. Oh, and I almost forgot, man. We literally had the Kenpei Sentai met Majin Ku and Majin Du in a convenience store, which had this just hilarious exchange. You know the Boo species, Majin Ku and Majin Du are no exception, are like obsessed with sweets, and they have this big conversation about these potato chips and this chocolate and all this stuff, and a hilarious moment where the Kenpei Sentai's over there just like, yeah, we could buy all this for you, we could do all this, and then they wind up like being broke, which was completely hilarious. If I was honestly going to give this a rating narratively, I would go out and on a limb and say this was probably a 9. It wasn't the best writing we've ever seen. It wasn't terrible by a long shot. It was a great episode, a very enjoyable episode. In animation-wise, it was pretty on point. Now, I'm going to take 2 points off because of the final scene alone, and that was when we had the Kenpei Tai that was chasing our crew. Literally, there were no faces. Go back and watch it. It was almost like the animators just didn't draw faces on him for some reason. It was crazy. The rest of the episode was fantastic, but I'm going to take 2 points off because it just threw me back into all the problems we had with Dragon Ball Super back in the day. So maybe that's harsh. Maybe it is what it is. Sound design still is going to get a 9. I think it's great. Story is 9. But the animation, I think I'm just going to take 2 points off for that. Other than that, the animation was fantastic. But the next episode is coming out here literally as I'm recording this, so we'll cover that here shortly. Make sure you guys like. Make sure you guys subscribe. It's going to be a double episode day for me at least. And I'll catch you guys again real soon.